So after 22 years apart, Jacob, Yaakov, is going to see his long-lost beloved son Joseph, Yosef. And the Torah tells us that Yosef harnesses his chariot. He goes out to greet his father. He falls on his neck. He hugs him and he cries. But the Torah tells us he cries. He hugs. You would have thought that the passage should say that they embrace and they hug, they cry. But it's in the singular. Why? The commentators tell us the reason is that while Yosef was hugging his father and crying, his father waited because he was first saying Shema before hugging his son back. Now, can you imagine the nearly superhuman level of self-restraint that it took Yaakov to first say Shema before hugging his son whom he hadn't seen in 22 years? So why was Yaakov doing that? Some say the reason he was doing that was to demonstrate to God, during the last 22 years, things looked dark. And it was depressing, and it looked terrible while I was separated from my son. But I recognize this was all your plan. And everything, God, that you do is for the best. Further, he wanted to show us that the righteous, in times of extreme happiness, invite God to the party. And we should too, whether it's a birth, or a bat mitzvah, or a bar mitzvah, or a wedding, or a new job, or any other really happy moment. God's there celebrating with us. He's so happy for us. And we should be thanking him because after all, he made that moment possible. He got us there. And one step further, some say that Yaakov was actually worried because he knew how enormous his outpouring of love for his son was going to be during the moment of their reunion. And so he was scared that for that one moment, his love for his son would be greater than his love for God. So he paused before hugging his son to first say Shema, to show God, God, you're still number one. Now that may sound extreme, but realize, God does not ask for more than he gives. Your children may love you. I hope they do. And your parents may love you. And your spouse may love you. And your friends may love you. But no one in the world loves you more than God does. And that's why a person can be unloved, overlooked, lonely, ignored, abandoned, scorned, and yet still hold their head up high with self-confidence and self-esteem because they know God loves me. And there's no greater example of this than King David. He grew up outside the main house, not in the house with his siblings and with his parents. He was outside the house taking care of the sheep because of some lingering, unfounded but lingering question regarding the identity of his father. If you had submitted his profile to any psychiatrist, they would have told you with certainty that young boy is going to grow up to be an emotional cripple. And yet instead, as he puts it, the stone that was despised by the builders has become the cornerstone. He grows up to become King David with a regal bearing, with self-confidence, with self-esteem, because he realized every day, God loves me. And we should realize the same thing. God loves you.